Hey, how's it going? TRX Traveler Adam here. This video is for the Full Body Intensity Program. There's a link to it just below if you're interested. Let's get straight to it. Alright, so this is block 1, workout 1, day 2. And our first exercise is the 5-minute calf work. Now, 5-minute calf work, again, it's the same as abs. They are slow twitch, so we want to work them with long tempo, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds. Now, what you can do, if you haven't got something to stand on, you can do it like this for 5 seconds. So you go up for 1, 2, 3, 4, super hard contraction, and down for 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just keep repeating that. Now, if you find that too easy, do one leg at a time. So I prefer to do one leg at a time, and it goes like this. I'll just use my left leg, so it goes up, and I go up for 1, 2, 3, 4, super hard contraction for 1, 2, 3, 4, and down, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's, I repeat that, and you go until absolute failure. Ideally, if you've got something like this you can stand on, that's even better, because what we can do, we can then get a nice big stretch at the top. So that means, I'm going to go back a little bit further. That means when we get to the bottom here, we stretch. So we go down for 1, and we stretch for 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and contract. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. 2, 3, 4, contract. 2, 3, 4, down. So you see what I'm doing there? It's 4 seconds stretching. So 4 seconds stretching the 4 seconds stretching the calf, coming up for 4 seconds. 4 seconds super hard contraction at the top, and I mean super hard, really squeeze the hell out of it. 4 seconds back down. Having a little block is better because it just means you can get a stretch. So again, we're going back to just a bigger range of motion, which is ideal. So that's your 5-minute calves. As I say though, if you haven't got a block, do it without it, like I just said, and just do it on the floor. And the key thing is to really focus at the top and really squeeze that calf muscle as much as possible, and you'll really feel it. Oh man, once you start getting that feeling at the top of that hard contraction, the calf muscles, they really burn. So really focus on that. Okay, our first exercise is back, and it's the low row. So same principles as the reverse row. We're going to go for a nice big stretch and a really hard contraction at the top. I absolutely love rows. I love working my lats because you can get such a lovely aesthetic shape when you develop your lats. You know, nice sort of broad back, really brings down a nice V taper, and that's, you know, male and female. It gives a beautiful form. It helps with a thinner waist as well. You know, when you get a little bit of a broader back and a stature. So find your placement. I like to start always where I'm going to sort of end to find the placement, which is really back here. And remember, the hands are just hooks. You know this from previous videos. We pull and lead with our elbows. So we're pulling with our elbows down and back, and we're keeping them alongside our body. So pulling down and back. How does that look? It looks like this. So it's down for 1, 2, 3, 4, and look at how big I'm stretching my lats right out there. And then I'm coming up and I'm squeezing for 1, 2, and back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, stretch, and back up, and squeeze super hard at the top for 2 seconds, back down, 2, my elbows are leading, they are driving back and down, back and down, and be breathing through your nose as much as possible. As much as possible with our workouts, breathe through our nose. Now, once you get to the point where you've just managed to get up to your last rep and you think, I can't do another one, what do? We take it into partials. So it's partials halfway and squeeze. and back down, partials halfway, and squeeze. Back down, then eventually you're going to be at the point where you can only pump, little pumps, and then you're not even going to be able to do pumps. So we take it into the isometric, and we hold it for as long as possible, until we start failing on that, and we go down as slow as possible, right to the very end stretch. So remember, go to the rep range in the program, follow the sets. As soon as we finish, what do? We want to contract the lats, mind to muscle. So we squeeze super hard, flare the lats, and then of course we take it into stretch, exactly the same as when we did the reverse rows, 15 seconds and 15 seconds. And then we move on to the next exercise. So just really remember that long range of motion and that really tight contraction at the top. Really drive those elbows back, yeah? Back and down, and really feel a lat squeezing. Feels awesome. Okay, the next exercise is rear shoulder, and it's the rear shoulder TRX face pull. Now, I love developing a rear shoulder because it gives the muscle, the shoulder muscle, just that lovely round shape. It's sort of like what I'd say is one of the most aesthetic muscles to develop for the shape it can give a structure. Face pulls are fantastic. So remember, key things with face pulls, we're pulling the hands past our face, as it says. This is exactly what it says in the tin. So we're pulling our hands past our face, but when we are doing this, we are rotating our hands up at the same time. So you're pulling past and rotating up. We're getting that external rotation of the shoulder to really hit the rear deltoid. So as always, we get set. I like to start where I'm going to contract at the top, which is here. And by contract at the top for 2 seconds, it means that I'm pulling, I'm rotating, and I'm pulling. So we go down for 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I don't like to go all the way down like this, because then we're just hanging and we take the tension off the rear shoulder muscles. So we only want to go down 2, 3, 4 to about there, not so we're hanging, just so there's a slight bend still, and we contract and rotate and hold 1, 2, and back down, 2, 3, 4, and back up and rotate, 1, 2, and back down, 2, 3, 4. Now you're going to get to the point where you fail. Now what do we do when we fail? Same principles, halfway partials. So it's a halfway partial, and then back down, 3, 4, halfway partial. And then you're going to get to the point where you can't do partials anymore. So what do? We just pump. Remember, black-eyed peas, pump it, and you're going to get to the point where you can't do that anymore. So what do? Isometric hold. We hold here for as long as possible. And you're going to get to the point where you can't do that. So what do? We lower, slow. And what do? As always, mind to muscle, contract the rear deltoids. So I like to do it like this. I just pull my shoulders back and really pull it back as if I'm trying to stretch my chest and round my shoulders backwards. So really pull them back. Another one you can do, hands like this, and push back like this, really contract, and you'll feel them pop. Then we stretch them. So you can stretch them either hand, just make sure you bend your elbow around your head. So if it's straight like that, it's going to hit more in the middle. If you bend it round, you're going to be able to wrap it round and take out the rear deltoid. 15 seconds either side, or you can put your hands together and you can do them straight on and push out like that. I prefer personally the hands, but if you feel you can get a better stretch with 2 hands, go for it. Next exercise, the TRX chest flies. So working our chest here, my favourite these. I mean, I say this about a lot of exercises, every TRX exercise is my favourite, but the reason I like these ones, I love any exercise where you can get a massive range of motion and you can get a really big stretch into a really solid contraction. So that's why I absolutely love flies, because for me, I can really feel it, and I believe anyone can. You know, my girlfriend, she really struggled with flies and she just didn't get them. But after we really worked on her technique a lot and she practiced, she now loves them because she can really feel the stretch and feel the contraction. So what do I mean by that? I mean that when we contract with flies, we aren't bringing our hands together, right? That feels useless. If I do that, there's just no tension on my chest. Same principle as what we talked about with press-ups. When I bring my hands together and I straighten my arms and I push my elbows together, I'm now squeezing my chest. and my chest muscles, you can see that's popping there, it's popping, and it feels solid. If I do that, it's soft, and you can try it. So we take that same principle, that technique into flies. Now, when we bring back, we contract our shoulder blades back. We keep a bend in the arms. We don't stretch back, yeah? We keep a bend in the arms, we contract the shoulder blades back, and then as we come together, we straighten the arms and squeeze at the top like this. So it's from this motion to straight arm motion. Just always remember, at the bottom, straighten the arms and try and bring the elbows together, not the hands, the elbows. Then you'll feel that squeeze, and you'll feel how much you can squeeze at the top. Now the tempo for these is 4-2-1-2. So 4 seconds down, 2 seconds stretch, 1 second back up, 2 seconds at the top. Long tempo, but it's just worth it because the stretch is just awesome at the bottom. So get ourselves set. Now, as I say, it's 4 seconds down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's that stretch. There's my shoulder blades contracting back. Holding it for 1, 2, back up. Nice and slow. Take your time, don't rush it. And look, I'm straightening my elbows and I'm squeezing my chest together here. I'm squeezing my chest together. I even rotate my hands so I can get that extra squeeze. And back down. Now I can probably take it a bit harder here for demonstration purposes. So I stretch. 1, 2, back up. Squeeze. And back down for 1, 2, 3, 4. Stretch. 2. Back up. Squeeze. And back down. And you can see my strain face. It's award-winning. It's an award-winning strain face. Because I'm squeezing so hard at the top there. Now, when you get to the point where you're like, oh, you know, this was the last one up, and if I go back down, I'm not getting back up. What do? Well, we go back down, and then we just do a partial. And then we come back down, controlled, and a partial. And back down, and controlled. And then you get to the point where you can only just hold it like this. Hold it for as long as you can. As long as you can. And stretch into it. And then go. That stretch, that end failure part where you're holding and you're stretching, wow, you will just feel like, I mean, there was only a few reps there, but I can just feel the blood just rushing, pumping my chest up. It feels great. So of course, what do we do straight after? Squeeze the chest muscles, squeeze them together, and stretch. 15 seconds either side, so 15 seconds, 15 seconds. Okay, great work, guys. Keep at it, lock it in, really lock it in. You know, you've got to lock it in on this program. It's all about going beyond what you believe you can. Lock it in, mind to muscle. Focus on technique and focus to go into failure. Follow the reps and sets in the program. So now on to hamstrings, and it's a TRX wide squat, 1.5 reps. For these, we need to put our mind into our bum and our hamstrings. We need to internalize, okay? So, how do we do that? How do we isolate and focus on the hamstrings? What we do, we get a nice wide stance. Now, as we go down, we don't just sit down. You know, I talk about this all the time. We never just sit down at a squat. We pull ourselves down. So we pull, we squeeze, as if there's a ball between the heels and the bum. We're trying to squeeze it, grip it, and we pull ourselves down, and then in the mind, we switch it, and we think, how do we want to get back up? Well, we're focused on hamstrings here, so we contract the hamstrings continuously, up and down. So I'm squeezing my hamstrings and my glutes continuously to pull myself down, and then I'm going back up by squeezing them, and you'll feel a slight different bit engaged, slight different bit to push you back up. And again, I'm squeezing up to come back down, and I'm squeezing them to go back up. You've got to close your eyes if it helps. Now, we're going to do a 1.5 rep range to keep tension on the hamstrings. Now, 1.5 rep range looks like this. So you get a nice wide stance, not too wide. Feet slightly bent out, so my stance is sort of like this. If we're doing quads, it would be straight on, shoulder width. Because we're doing hamstrings, it's a bit wider and they're sticking out like this. I'm going to slightly lean back, and then I'm contracting my hamstrings and my quads, and I'm pulling myself down, for 4 seconds, and I'm going up and I'm squeezing my glutes and hams halfway, then I go back down for 4 seconds, and I go up for a full one. But as we go up, we don't straighten out, because how do we straighten out? If we straighten out, we contract the quads and we lock the quads, and by contracting the quads, by straightening out, we take the load and the tension off the hamstrings. That's not what we want. So let me show you again. Down, 1, 2, 3, 4, squeeze halfway, back down, 2, 3, 4, squeeze full, and back down, 2. You've got to really lock in and squeeze halfway, back down, 2, 3, 4, squeeze full, and back down, 2, 3, 4, squeeze halfway, back down, 2, 3, 4. Now you'll get to the point where you're squeezing up and you can only just sort of come up, and you're like, oh, if I go back down, I'm not doing another one. Awesome. So what do? We do partials. We go halfway down and pump it back up, halfway down and pump it back up. I'm continuously squeezing my hamstrings, continuously squeezing non-stop as I go up and down, and you'll get to the point where you can just hold yourself, and you hold yourself, and you hold yourself, and then you slowly lower, slowly lower, slowly lower. This isn't squats. This is intentional hamstring squats. It's going to be super easy if all you focus on is going up and down, because you're using multiple muscles. You have to use your mind to muscle connection and only use your hamstrings up and down. That way we're putting our entire weight onto just the hamstring muscle, so we're just depleting the hamstring muscle. Really focus on that. And the next exercise is for the quads, and we do the same thing. We switch our mind intent. We keep the weight over the quads and we squeeze the quads. With practice, this becomes great, because it means you can intentionally squat for one muscle, for your hamstrings or for your quads, even just for your glutes when you get really good mind to muscle connection. For this principle, we're doing hamstrings and glutes and quads. So once you master this, squats become super easy, because you say to yourself, I'm going to squat, but what muscle do I want to squat today? I want hamstrings. So you do squats specifically just for hamstrings, and you will feel it so much better. You'll feel a violent muscle contraction better, and the development will show too. So, as soon as we finish that, what do we do? As soon as we've done the reps, we squeeze. So we squeeze the hamstrings. And of course, how do we do that? Just as if we're trying to crush a stability ball between our heels and bum. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then we stretch. 15 seconds, touch your toes and stretch. So follow the sets and reps in the program. Then we move on to our next exercise, which is quads. So it's TRX narrow squat quad focus. So exactly the same as what we do in the previous video with the hamstrings, where we put our mind in our glutes and our hamstrings and really focused on that and just working that and isolating that. We do the same thing here. Now we're going to focus on our outer quads. So what that means is we have parallel lines, so tram lines, feet are straight, they're shoulder width. Now throughout this entire exercise, we keep our weight slightly forward, but the main key thing to focus on is you are constantly pushing your feet outwards. Constantly, all the way down and all the way back up. All you are doing is pushing feet outwards as we go up and down as hard as you can. And why? Because we are wanting to focus on the outer quad muscle here. The pistol squats we did focused on the inner and the medial. Here we're wanting to focus on the outer, and the outer quad gives a nice thickness to the width to the leg. The medial and inner give a nice shape and thickness to it. So you can see when you develop them both, even though I'm at my bulky stage at the moment, you can see you get a sort of nice M or a W of your outer quad here and your teardrop. We really want to work the outer quad here, and by pushing outwards you can do it. If you feel it, if you push outwards, you will feel that it goes really hard and solid, because all the weight goes on that. So we're going to take it through a full range of motion up and down. Now when you do it, don't let your knees cave in. Keep your knees going outwards. So you're pushing feet outwards, knees are going outwards. Feet outwards, knees are going outwards. And we don't straighten and contract at the top. Why? Because when we do that, if we keep pushing outwards and then suddenly contract at the top, the teardrop, the medial quad, inner quads are going to come into play. That's not what we want. We want to keep it on the sweep on the outer quads. So we want to keep the tension there so we don't fully straighten out. Yeah? We keep a slight bend, keep pushing out, and we go back down. That's why the tempo is 4 seconds down, 0 second bottom, 0 second at the top, 1 second up. We're not pausing at the bottom or top. We're constantly pushing the feet outwards, up and down, yeah? So, in practice it looks like this. So, shoulder width, tram lines, slightly leaning forward, and I'm pushing my feet outwards. 2, 3, 4, and I'm coming back up, and back down, and I'm pushing my feet outwards, pushing my feet outwards, pushing my feet outwards, pushing my feet outwards, constantly push my feet outwards, and you're going to get to the point where you can't do another one, yeah? And that's when we go into failure, into partials. So it's down, it's down, it's down, and it's back up, just partials. Down, down, down. You're going to get to the point where you can only just do pumps, and you just pump it like this, little pumps, and then you're going to get to the point where you're just holding, holding, holding. And again, I'm constantly pushing my feet outwards. I never stop pushing my feet outwards. And you get to the point where you finally fail by going all the way down. And of course, what do we do when we finish? We contract the muscles. So yes, we straighten, but then we push out. So contract the quads, straighten them, contract and push the feet against the floor outwards, just as we were doing all through the exercise. Really squeeze the whole leg and the outer quads. To stretch here, we want to stretch right down here, the hip flexors and the outer quad sweep. So what do? We lie on our back and we pull it over, and you'll feel it stretch and loosen. Oh, it feels great. All across the hip flexors, all across the outer quad and the sweep. Ah, fantastic. So, follow the rep range, follow the sets. Remember, you must push your feet outwards constantly, up and down. Keep everything parallel. Keep your knees slightly coming out. Don't let them bend in like this. Keep them coming out. Focus on your technique. And because we're putting all that load on the outer quads, God, you're going to feel a burn. It feels fantastic. So really focus and go for it. Right now, and on to the next exercise, which is the bicep TRX reverse curls. These are awesome. Awesome for the brachialis muscle. Again, we're always twisting, but the twisting at the top, supinate, so we twist our wrist. The brachialis muscle is going to push the bicep muscle and the tricep muscle away from each other. So it gives the arm a nice thickness and a nice shape to it. And you can feel it pop in here if you kind of do that and squeeze. You'll feel it pop. So, how do we do that? How do we target it? Same as the curls. And as I said, we supinate, we twist, we twist. I go on obsessively about this, how the job of the bicep isn't just up and down, it's also twist and rotate. So we twist and rotate, and you can feel it pop. Like even if I just do that, that little twist, it pops and it changes, and the peak comes into play, the shorter bicep muscle. So, get ourselves set, reverse curls. I always, again, as I say, I like to start where I finish. So with reverse curls, it's like this. And you see how I'm twisting out? I'm not finishing here, straight up. I'm finishing, twisting, supinating out. That looks good, it looks set. And I go down for 1, 2, 3, 4. I contract the tricep at the bottom. And I come up and I twist outwards. And I hold for 1, 2, squeeze on the super hard. Down for 1, 2, 3, 4, contract the tricep, back up, and squeeze and rotate at the top, rotate and back down, 2, 3, 4, squeeze the tricep, come back up, rotate at the top and squeeze super hard, and back down, 3, 4. Now, once you get the point of failure where you're hitting the rep range, and you know this is your last one, and you're like, oh my God, I just can't do another full rep, what do? Same principle as the other coaching vids. We do partials, so partial, and then a partial. Try and keep the same technique, so you're squeezing at the top, slowly down, and then you get to the point where you can only do pumps. So we just pump it, and then we just pump it, and then we just pump it, and then you're going to get to the point where you can't do any more of them, so we'd hold it on the isometric, and we hold, and hold, and hold, and then we go down slowly, slowly, slow as possible, slow as possible, slow as possible. Then of course, what do? We contract. So you can either do a bit like this and really contract and feel the brachialis muscle, or you can twist and rotate up. Again, really feel it. Just contract the biceps. You can even do hammer. Squeeze there. Just get your mind in it and really feels what it's like to squeeze the muscle, because that's what we're taking into the exercise. And then of course, we stretch. So 15 seconds either side, as always. we stretch it out, and then we do the other one, 15 seconds. These are an awesome one, and you'll notice how in day one of the workout we were doing normal TRX curls. This one we're doing reverse, and then the other day you'll see we do hammer, so we're hitting it from all different angles, hitting the bicep muscle, the short, long head and the branchialis to develop shape and width. Now, last exercise is the TRX Tricep Dips. These are fantastic and they're hard, but that's why they're fantastic. So, get the TRX down to about, I mean it's difficult to say, it's probably about a foot and a half off the ground there. I sort of think about it as in line of when you sort of sit flat, so you kind of want it the level of your bum. Now, remember with these, we're pushing away, so we're always pushing the handles into the wall or into the door, or if you're just hanging, because you've got it hanging from a roof, don't obviously push away, just keep the focus on up and down, and keep the wrist and everything in alignment like this. So wrist always stays in alignment with the shoulder. Now, key points of this. So the tempo, again for this one, it's 4 seconds down, 0 seconds, no pause at the bottom, 1 second back up, and a 2 second hard contraction squeeze. And you can really feel it. You know, when you extend your tricep and you push back, you can really feel it. That tricep head really pop, and it's what they call a horseshoe head. And you can really feel it squeezing. That's what we want to take into these dips. So, get yourself comfortable. Place them, you know, just either side, pushing against the wall. I like to start at the bottom on tricep dips. So, if we go up, and I squeeze, and I'm squeezing my hands, squeeze my tricep, sorry, back down, 2, 3, 4, nice and deep, and come up, controlled, squeeze and push against the wall, and back down, 2, 3, 4, nice and deep, controlled, back up, and squeeze and push against the wall, squeeze, 1, 2, back down, 2, 3, 4. Now when you start getting to failure, you're going to sort of be able to come back up a little bit, hold it, back down, and a little bit, hold it, back down, and a little bit, hold it, back down, and eventually you're going to get to the point where you can just hold it, so you're holding, and then you collapse. These, with regards to failure, happen quite fast, because the tricep's such a small muscle, you'll feel it once you're like, oh crap, I can't do any more. It's not like curls and flies and stuff like that, where you can actually get a full one in, full partials. It goes to the point where you do a full one, then you go down and you're like, holy crap, I can barely get back up. So just try your very best to get up, hold it, back down, get up, hold it, back down, get up, hold it, back down, and just really go as slow as you possibly can on the negatives. And of course, what do we want to do after? We squeeze. So just try and straighten your arms and pull them back, so you can really squeeze that tricep, squeeze it. And of course then we stretch it for 15 seconds either side, so stretch it. Now, as I said to you on skull crushes, our aim on skull crushes was to lengthen and stretch. It wasn't the peak contraction, it was to get a nice stretch and lengthen. The focus on these ones is the opposite. It's not to get a stretch at the bottom, it's to get a really hard contraction at the top and really squeeze the triceps super hard. So that's where our different angles again and different strength ranges, hit the triceps at different ranges of the strength curve, come into play. And as with the skull crushes, where it was easier to start failing and get pumps and partials on the stretch to the bottom end, here it's a bit easier at the top end. Hence why it'll as you go back down, you will fall quicker, because at the bottom end it's harder. So just focus on that top contraction on these, focus on keeping perfect form, alignment, pushing back, squeezing, back down, and you'll feel them pump up. It feels awesome. And I believe, yeah, that's the last exercise. So I'll put a link to day 3 up right now on the screen. Great work for digging into these. The links to the program are obviously below, and also the individual coaching vids are below, the link to the playlist for that, because I'll cut all these vids up in case you want them to refer back as you're going through the program and you just want to pick one to refer to. As always, it's about going to failure. Yeah, it's about locking in mentally, perfect technique, getting your mind into the muscle that we're trying to hit. We've talked a lot about these in these coaching videos. Really focusing on just isolating and working that one specific muscle We're not just moving, we're isolating and focusing and wearing down that one specific muscle. So really lock in and focus on that. And yeah, great work. Thank you very much for watching.